you maybe just spend a couple minutes talking about how the Church of Christ, now I hope this doesn't sound negative, it's just kind of the way I almost heard it presented as a young person. It's almost like it just kind of fell out of heaven a couple hundred years ago again, and it's back. Can you kind of talk a little bit about some of the impulses and influences that kind of came in to shape who we are, that were not just straight out of the Bible?
Yeah. And I've spent a lot of my work over the years, trying to do that in respectful ways. And I think it's kind of like people who go on the search for their own family history. Why do people do that? Well, they think it's important to know about where they came from and how we got this way, And something similar, I think, is very valuable when it comes to our Christian heritage and family. And if we don't do some of that, then we will allow its influences to influence us unconsciously. It's not a matter of will it influence us or will it not influence us. It has influenced us. And the question is, do we want to know about it and react to it in some way, or to let it simply influence us unconsciously so we can't deal with it? That's the stark and unavoidable reality. And so I have the presupposition or assumption that it's better to be conscious of it than unconscious. And so you go on a journey, like you go on to the archives to work on your family tree, and you begin to discover some interesting things. Sometimes you discover some dismaying things, but mostly you grow in your appreciation for where you came from. And that's what I think this journey with our Christian ancestry does. The book that Richard Hughes and I did many years ago, Discovering Our Roots, did. And it extends that journey back past Campbell and Stone, back into the 16th century. And I can't tell you how many letters and comments I've had over these years, hundreds and hundreds of them, of people saying, wow, that was a little disorienting, but wow, that really made me appreciate things a lot more. Helped me have a better place to stand right now as I think about the challenges we face going forward. To me, it's not a bad thing at all that we have these influences. It's just a human thing. That's how human cultures and human history works. So what are some of those? Mr. Campbell, Alexander Campbell, tried mightily to cut himself off from all of those influences, and maybe even thought for a moment that he had. But think about it. And if you look at his way of doing theology, what he did over the years, you realize he continued to be very influenced by his Presbyterian upbringing. So Mr. Campbell, in his way of framing the ancient gospel and ancient order of things, which modern churches of Christ built upon, was shaped by his Presbyterian heritage, very much. And a piece of that was a certain view of the restoration impulse. So you begin to realize, as some of the recent work has shown, the Presbyterians, or the Reformed tradition, or let's call them the Puritans, were very robust restorationists. And my PhD advisor, named Dwight Bozeman, wrote the major book on that, published in about 1989, called To Live Ancient Lives. And it was about Puritan restorationism. But this whole way of getting back to the purity of beginnings was very much a Puritan thing, a Reformed thing. And they parsed it somewhat differently, of course. That was part of Mr. Campbell's heritage. He didn't invent that. In America, it took a different shape and was accelerated, you might say. And then, of course, there are philosophical influences on it that we've touched on already, out of his Scottish-Irish training at the University of Edinburgh. the moderate Enlightenment. Those were powerful influences on Mr. Campbell. And then, of course, his settling down in the context of early America had a profound influence on him, where now you have where the free churches were free church. All churches became free churches, as opposed, that is to say, churches not connected to the state. And this shaped American denominationalism from top to bottom. And Mr. Campbell was very much a part of that, and in his own brilliance, capitalized upon it in very effective ways. So those would be 3 or 4 things that are immediately obvious in looking at some of the influences of that era.